Bandwidth for this podcast is brought to you by Ideate Software. Be sure to check out all of their great Revit applications designed to increase your productivity. Hello and welcome to BIM Thoughts. I'm Bill.
I'm Dana.
I'm Carl.
And we are here with another exciting episode. We have somebody great today. I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your name at the beginning, like I can remember after the intro.
Mostafa El Ayoubi.
That's perfectly correct. Yep.
Wow.
Perfectly correct?
Yeah, exactly.
No
You know, one way to remember it is like the four letters L, I, U, and B. And there you're good to go.
I was thinking like Lion King.
Yeah, Mufasa, right.
But it's
Not too far from it.
So define yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm an architect and civil engineer. So that's what I went to school for. And I fell into BIM pretty early on in my career. At first, it was for collaboration and coordination. And then I got into computation pretty early. And it was mostly with like Dynamo and Grasshopper, so visual programming. That's what got me into computation. Then I got really passionate about it and started building stuff and trying to make the tools closer to what we needed, you know, in our practices. And that led me to creating my own company that's now the Data Shapes company.
Wow.
So yeah, that's been the journey. I've been working with several types of folks, architects, engineers, and it's just been really cool so far.
So tell us about your company and what it does and why it does it.
So what it does is very broad. You know, it goes from your traditional BIM management all the way to custom software development. And it really depends on the people that we meet along the way, in the different projects that we get to work on. We get to identify people's needs and we try to provide solutions, like the most adapted solutions. So that's what we've been doing so far. And it's been,
So tell us about your favorite project you can tell us about.
Okay. Well, there's this project. I mean, it's very recent. This one is pretty recent. It's with a developer that's interested in generative design. So, you know, they've just heard about it and they were like, okay, what can we do with it? And they came to us, and we've had the opportunity to spend a good amount of time researching generative design, looking at all the cool stuff that's being built around them, like from Hypar to generative design at Autodesk, etc. And we've had the opportunity to explore all of that and to build some cool workflows. And that's probably the most exciting stuff that I've been working on in the last couple of months.
So what's the big difference between Hypar and the Autodesk stuff?
Okay, so I would say that it's the general philosophy. You know, it's the Hypar is trying to do something that is pretty much standalone, where that's at least how I feel about it. You know, it's online. It's like the learning curve is a little steeper because you need to be coding stuff. And it can get intimidating, even for someone who's very familiar with the visual programming software, such as Dynamo or Grasshopper. So it's not as easy to get it up and running, but there's a lot of documentation that's getting released, and you know the community is also you can see it grow. So that's a very interesting way of doing things. The Autodesk part is I believe more accessible to everyone. I wouldn't say that it is accessible to everyone, but it's.
No, Carl can't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's there's this cool opportunity to take Dynamo stuff, that's Dynamo pre-existing stuff, and like tweak it a bit into that generative design part, and get some interesting things going on too.
Is it more generative or is it more iterative?
Well, the generative part in the Revit and Dynamo, I mean, the Autodesk thing has a generative part that is I feel like it's the only on the optimize, when you're using that generative design thing, you get several options. So there's optimize, randomize,
Okay.
and that stuff. So yeah, the optimize part is definitely using some algorithms that are trying to optimize things based on, I don't know, genetic algorithm, I believe.
Yes.
And so that would be generative. The rest is definitely iterative and just like trying out the biggest amount of options with the parameters that you're given it. And the cool thing is, though, that interface at the end where you can filter out the options based on some outputs, that works pretty good.
Dana, I'm sure you're dying for a question.
Yeah, well, as a Dynamo user, I am very familiar with the input enhancements that DataShapes provides. And I know that that is just, it's really revolutionary as somebody who tries to push out Dynamo Player and make it as functional as it can be. I mean, there's just some things in there like selection ability, if that's a word, and things like that that you can't do with Dynamo natively. That's just really game changing. So thank you for that. And I would love it if you could demo a little bit of that before you get into Orkestra or whatever it is that you're going to demo, just so you can show the users, because that's free for entry, right? Anybody can download the DataShapes package and you can grab that. But I'm very excited to hear about Orkestra and package management, because not only is Dynamo failing in input and just where it, what you can do with Dynamo Player, but it's also horribly failing in how you can manage and push out packages and deploy them. And it's really frustrating as someone who wants everybody to be able to use Dynamo, which, as we know, a lot of the times you require packages, right?
Right.
It's like kind of hand in hand. Yes, and it's the same discussion a lot of the time. So very excited about that. So thank you very much. And I'm very excited to hear about other things that DataShapes has to provide. I'm on your website now and looking at some of the things that you guys have in terms of add-ins and other things. And it's actually kind of mind-blowing, because once again, as a Dynamo user, I felt like I was so familiar with DataShapes, and here I am, and I'm not at all. So what are some other things outside of some of the favorite projects or what have you? What are some of the specific tools that you find you get some of the most feedback on?
Well, yeah, definitely the DataShapes package, because that's pretty much how it started. The DataShapes package is something that was at first it was a Dynamo package before it became a company. But yeah, the company is not just the Dynamo package, of course. So yeah, there's a lot of different things. There's the Dynamaps package as well that started out at a hackathon, and then I've been developing, not as much as I would have liked to. I think it could get better, but it's what it is for now. It does its things. So there's that also. But yeah, mostly in terms of software development, what I've been working on the most heavily lately is, I mean, for the past years, is Orkestra. It's the big project, and I'm like more than excited to be working on it and to get all the feedback that I'm getting. We've had a lot of people jump into the beta test space that's lasted for at least almost a year, and it went live recently. It went live in the end of October 2020, and ever since we have customers, we have people who are working with it to deploy as their deployment tool in their company, and it's just like it's overwhelmingly cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to show that to you and hear what you think, because I
show away. That's why we're on the Zooms.
Okay, sweet.
Sure, you should be able to just go ahead and share your screen if you want.
Okay, let me do just that.
Let's tell everybody how we can share your DataShapes package.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so share screen one. Yes. Can you see it?
Yay!
We can.
Cool. All right.
Look at that. It's like we've been doing this since March.
The people are getting used to it. Getting good. Getting
We're all
good.
getting good at these Zoom things.
Yeah. So, I'll just start with a couple of slides to introduce the thing. And then I'll move on to a live demo where I'll get to show you the way it really operates. And
Okay.
I'll be very happy to hear all your questions and show.
Right. And make sure you
things.
describe it pretty well for our radio audience.
Okay, I'll do my
Good
best.
point, Bill.
So
Trying
the
every day.
starting the starting points is this, right? So that's what Dana was talking about. The problem with Dynamo is whenever you send things over to people and they say that it doesn't work, most of the time it's going to be because of these guys. So the red nodes, the unresolved nodes, the missing dependencies. And that's always been a huge problem. And that's a big pain because Dynamo is, probably my favorite tool all around. It's really it's amazing at letting you build custom tools really fast on the fly. It's just like it hits that point where you can't really scale its usage to a very broad audience. So
And thank goodness for that view extension now. Right?
Oh yeah, right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this has
Game
made things
changer.
better. Yep. It's made things much better. There's also the monocle package by John Pearson that's like doing some incredible stuff. Oh yeah.
The package usage doggy.
Right?
Is that how it's pronounced? Doge?
I think it's Doge, yeah.
Well, we had him on, he said. I don't remember now. So shame on me for saying we had him on.
I believe he said that either are right, that there wasn't a name that was incorrect.
I think at this point, John just doesn't mind as long as people use it and are happy.
As long as it brings a smile to your face.
Right.
I know the Shiba Inu brings a smile to my face every time I open it. So
yeah, right. Yeah, it has that nice feeling about it. Yeah, it's very fresh. Like it's just like your friend giving you some cool tools.
Right.
So that's also great, but it does not. It just does not fix the issue. It tells you when you're inside Dynamo what you're missing, but it's not like automating things for you in terms of package deployment. And as this platform was being built, so to address this pain point, it just felt right to address some other pain points trying to deploy Dynamo content. And it just came down at some point to identifying the pain points and then trying to address them. Now, the pain points, they often revolve around questions as from a user standpoint, like knowing who made a definition, like just tracking that information to make users more confident about the content because they know where it comes from, and also knowing who they can ask questions to if they ever have a problem. For users that are more savvy about Dynamo, they will ask you which packages they should install. So that information is also, well, with Monocle and with the package dependency view extension from the Dynamo team, it has been made easier, but still. There are often questions about what the definition does. So that part, documenting the functionality, it's not always easy to understand what a definition does from its title. And what people tend to do is write descriptions inside the definition, so in little text notes. But I feel like if you want to deploy Dynamo to a very broad audience, so say in an architecture practice, you want everyone who's using Revit to use your Dynamo content, you have to assume that, well, at least 80% of that crowd is not going to even be wanting to open Dynamo. They just want to use it. And if they need to open it in order to get some form of information, well, they're probably not going to get it. So that will just not be enough if you're writing things that inside the definition. Other questions are often, they often sound like this. So where can I find the latest version of this definition? So yeah, version control, because definitions tend to be adapted a lot. And there's the, well, this one, I guess, is somehow related to the what does the definition do part, but it's more related to the way it works. It's just like telling the people that they need to run this step first and then this one, or maybe something needs to be done in the model before they run the definition. So that type of things also. Now, from an administrator standpoint, the pain points are a little different, but they are just as well problematic. So there's knowing how the adoption is going, because users are not always great at providing the feedback, about that. So you might not know that some of your definitions are being very used, or that no one is using them, and that's just like not the best way to be. It's not the best feeling when you send things over and you don't get feedback.
So is it doing analytics on that?
Absolutely, yeah. It
has a logging capability built into it. Is essentially
so it says this has been used 100 times by Dana and 1 time by Carl. And 0
that
times
is
by
so
yeah, you'll
huge.
get that.
There's so many wonderful things that we can do with that data, right?
Yeah.
Like
right.
If one individual user runs my script 800 times, I might ask that user how I might be able to improve the script so they could run it 100 times,
absolutely.
Right?
Or did they run
like
it 800 times and get it working once?
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Or, like you're saying, if an office doesn't use it at all, maybe I know that I need to do a lunch and learn with them, or, whatever it might be. I mean, there's so many wonderful things, especially now as we're going more to a cloud type of atmosphere where not all of us are necessarily on a network where we can log these things really easily. Huge.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That really well, thank you so much. I'm like, this is great for me to hear that we are aiming right, that people's need. At first it really started as a scratch your own itch kind of thing. So yeah,
I feel like that's how most of these things do, right? Which is like exactly what you're saying. It kind of evolved to what it is because you had a need.
Right.
You were solving problems for yourself computationally. It's not much different from how each of us started to learn the different tools that we know, or Ehsan putting out PyRevit. It's all very much tied to the same kind of idea. So absolutely, people find your problems and commit to figuring out how to, because you never know. Now you have a company driven based off it. And I will say that the Orkestra with a K .online website is very nice as well. Looking on there, lots of good information as well. So without further ado, continue.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so there's that part. The analytics part, it's built in Orkestra, and it just felt right to have a one-stop solution for all these things. There are some other tools out there that we could talk about that are very interesting to look at. For example, there's BIM Beats by the Bad Monkeys team that does something like that, and it actually tracks. I mean, it's analytics for everything. I haven't had a chance to use it much, but from what I've seen, it seems really impressive. There's also another project called Binoculars that's open source and also has been created at the hackathon. It was the same hackathon the Dynamo project started at. And that one is open source and free. And it's just like, I feel like it's a little more work to maintain and to get working, but still, it's just like quoting them for the audience that might be interesting in looking into it. So yeah, other issues. Well, it's how can I say, the other side of that coin that I mentioned earlier from the user standpoint. So how can we document? People want to know how they can use it. As an administrator, you need to know how you can document. And if you try and maintain an up-to-date documentation for your content, at some point it's going to get as hard maintaining that documentation that it is maintaining the content itself. So it just like felt like a good idea to have one unified space where you can tie the documentation to the definitions, etc. And finally, there's as a content creator, this question, like, did someone modify this thing? When you send a definition and then it doesn't work anymore like you intended it to, and when you open it, it feels like something's been tweaked around, and that's always not, it's not the best thing. I am a huge advocate for everyone learning Dynamo, and everyone who shows interest in it needs to have the ability to open it and I mean, yeah, crack it open and hack it, and that's how I learned stuff, and that's what I feel. I mean, that's what I feel is right. But in some cases, especially if you're deploying to a very large audience, you want to make sure that the definitions are, some sort of read-only, that people can only play them. And if they want to understand how it works, if they want you to explain things to them, they can get the definition from you. But just like on the player side, you would like it to be something that cannot be altered without your authorization.
For ensure,
So
maybe that they're just doing a save as, right? Rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
overwriting your file, right? Like get in there, tinker with it, mess with it, figure it out, do what you need to do in there to make it your own. Maybe your project
exactly.
requires something unique, but you can't overwrite it. Right?
Yeah,
We have a master location where it's all protected.
Absolutely, yeah. And if someone modifies it, I mean, if you grant someone the right to modify it, there's a full history. I mean, there's version control, the full history of the versions, and you can roll back to a previous version if there ever is a problem.
I know even myself, I've accidentally saved over a Dynamo script, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do?
Yeah.
I hope I have that saved and copied somewhere.
Yes, that's a big problem. Well, thankfully, there's that backup space in the automated backups from Dynamo. Those are really great. I don't know how people are aware of their existence, but they have saved my life a certain amount of time. All right. Now, again, just like big picture, that's how it looks like deploying through Orkestra. So you're, I mean, that would be the crowd creating the content. They are doing everything I mean, yeah, they know what they're doing. They have their packages, they have everything they need. But when that stuff needs to leave their computer, that's when Orkestra comes in handy. It's a cloud-based platform that lets them manage scripts and packages online, deploy to their company, document and reference that content, secure the definitions, and make sure that no one is going to override something without being authorized to, and get that usage information automatically. And on the creator side, there's also a set of productivity tools that is right inside the authoring program, such as Dynamo or Grasshopper, because we're addressing that environment as well. And how I like to think of it is an ecosystem and a fully integrated one, because there's the platform where all the data is and all the settings are, but there are these integrations right inside the authoring tools. So there's a Revit add-in, there's a Dynamo View extension, there's a Rhino plugin. We're working on a Civil 3D add-in, et cetera, just to make it as accessible as possible and as integrated as possible to your user base. And yeah, just some milestones. There will be many more in the future, but yeah, just to give people an idea, the beta test phase started in January 2020. It was first officially released at the end of October 2020, and there's a new release coming in January with some features that I will be showcasing tonight. That will be the first time that I get to show it publicly.
Oh, so boy.
Excited about that too. And that's it for these slides.
Yay, slideshows.
I hope that was not too
no, it was great.
Well, long. Okay. So now we're in Revit, right? And this is Orkestra. This is what it looks like when you have it installed. There's this little tab. You get that button that opens a browser, and it's a dockable pane that itself has a couple of tabs. Now, these tabs have, well, I mean, different functionalities. And what I'll do, and I kind of had the opportunity to do this with Carl already once. So, I'll just go through them, the tabs one at a time, and explain basically what each of them does. And please feel free to interrupt me if there's anything that triggers your attention. So the first tab, that's the local part of Orkestra. And that's also an information that I would like to emphasize. Orkestra has a paid tier. And that paid tier is everything that's cloud-based, but the local part of it is completely free. So anyone can download Orkestra and use the local functionality. And those can be used as a replacement to the Dynamo player or the Dynamo browser. There's also on that local part the UI extension for Dynamo that has some pretty cool features. I'll get to show that as well. So yeah, that's the local part of Orkestra inside Revit. And what it lets you do is pretty much, point at some locations on your computer and access all the content that's there. It's pretty user friendly. All you have to do is right click, add a workspace, point at anything. So here I'm even going to point at my desktop, and here it appears, and then you can browse everything that's inside that workspace in a tree view kind of way, which is more convenient than the Dynamo player, I would say, because that keeps you browsing over and over again to different locations. So I would say that this is more user friendly than that. Double clicking a definition will obviously play it, and it will also give you some feedback. So if it runs successfully, it will turn green. If it runs with errors, it will turn orange. So that's, I would say, pretty similar in terms of functionality to what the Dynamo player does. There's a research bar also. So yeah, I just showed how I can add a workspace. You can remove it just like this. You can research things here with this little search bar. And one thing that it does pretty easily is, well, basically let you right-click any definitions inside that tree view, right-click it, and go add to ribbon. And so this one that's called...
That's cool.
Yeah, it does it pretty easily too. So boom, here it is.
Yeah, look at that. We're somebody now.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
So now anybody can just click on that, and it acts like you've been running it in Dynamo.
Well, the person who adds, can you add ribbons or paths remotely? Like, can the admin configure that and push it out to everybody?
Okay, so I guess you could work out a way where that is done through the local part of Orkestra, because all these settings, they're in an XML file, so you could, I guess, find a way to centralize that. But this local part is really intended to be something that's personal, kind of. A place where everyone can set up the tools that they feel like they need a quick access to. Like set up a quick access to their local stuff.
So is the second one, the cloud one, then the company's tools? Or your company tools?
No, these are the company's tools.
Oh, the company. So like Smith's Group's tools or LPA's
exactly.
tools.
Yeah. So Orkestra is a platform in all these integrations.
Okay.
We intend to provide some tools, to just like as a bonus, but yeah, it really is intended for companies to deploy their own stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I've just added this quick access here. I'm going to enter the settings here through this window and show that it can. Okay, so this is the Orkestra settings window. It gives you access to pretty much everything. And I just show you how you can really go far in terms of customization. So here I'm looking at my local quick accesses, right? This is the list of all the quick accesses that I have. So these were already set up. It shows you the path that it's pointing at. And you can also specify a custom UI, custom icon.
That's cool.
I have a couple of icons.
So you could put the BIM Thoughts logo on there if you want it.
Right, yeah. I don't think I have that one.
I don't know why you would, but good.
That would work. That would work. Okay, I missed. Oh yeah, here we go. I have a couple of icons here that are clean. It has a built-in converter, so you can put in any image pretty much, and it should work. But it's always nicer if it's the right size to begin with, and yeah, the perfect thing for Revit is a 30 by 30 PNG. So I'm just like picking this random brush, and the moment I hit refresh, there you go.
Look at that random brush.
And no need to restart Revit or write any type of JSON file. It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
And that is pretty much where it stops with the local part of Orkestra. So it does all of these things, gives you quick access to your stuff, but it's not going to help you in terms of version control or package management, etc.
Right.
That will happen on the second part, which is the cloud part. And in order to enable it, you need to click this guy and connect using your credentials. So that's where you need an account. And once you're logged in, you have access to this tab. And now this one has, I mean, it looks very similar. It has a couple of nodes that you can expand. This is again some content, but the huge difference here, and I think you already guessed it. The stuff is not on my computer or on my local server. It's really on the platform. It's on the Orkestra platform. And since it's on the platform, you have access to many more settings and very powerful ones. So again, I'm going to enter the settings window. And this time I'm going to look at my cloud workspaces, especially this one. It has my name, so that every Orkestra account comes with a storage space that's associated to it. It's called a hub. And these hubs, they have settings. And the settings look something like this. So you get to grant people access to that workspace. So this is where you decide who gets access to it. And this is also where you decide what type of access they get. And this is, that preventing people from overriding it part happens. So if someone is a user, they cannot override your content or modify it or even like really access it. They can play it, but they cannot alter it at all. The second part is the packages. So this is where you decide which packages exactly, so that you really specify the version of the package that are going to be used for the content that's located inside that storage space. I'm just like, describing this with words, but I will show you how it really operates. So yeah, basically, what I want to do now is make very obvious that I'm missing a package. So I'm going to search for a little definition that I use a lot for these demos. So this one is called apartment layout by level. I'm going to right click and ask to open it in Dynamo. It will do it, just like the Dynamo player does. It should not take too long.
I always love it when a script takes a little while and know that it's working, right?
Yeah.
When it like finishes really quick, I'm like, oh no, it didn't work.
Yeah.
I need to go fix something. It's actually going to take me way longer. Right?
That's very true. All right. So as you can see, I have some
red
nodes
boxes
here.
of life.
Yeah, we love those. And they're
one of my favorite nodes.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, what I'm missing is the data shapes package. So as I feel like you already know what it does. Since I'm missing that package, I should not be getting those little UI forms, UI input forms. The other thing that you can see is that I have that very cool monocle package installed that turns the headers of the nodes blue. So you get to see what's custom and what's built in. That's really, really cool. Shout out to John. This is, pretty much not going to work. And we know why, because we've opened it and we've looked at it. Now, I'm just going to close this. And I'm going to look at my cloud storage, where I have the exact same definition. So it's the apartment layout by level, this one. And what we're going to look at now is the workspace that it's located in. So here it is. It's in a workspace called My Definitions. If I look at the settings of that workspace, you'll see that the data shapes package has been associated to it. So I have set up the right package environment for that definition. Now, if I play it through the cloud part of Orkestra, this is what happens. Orkestra is setting up your packages for this workspace. So, it's going to detect the need for a package environment switch because it detects that you don't have the right settings for it. It's going to switch that package environment, and then it's going to play the definition. And it only does that when it needs to. So if I play this definition and play it again, it's only going to switch the package environment once.
Right. That's great.
And it's not, that's pretty much how it works. The management of the packages happens at workspace level. So all the definitions need to be bundled together. The packages the definitions that use the same packages need to be bundled together and put in a workspace, and then assign the correct package environment to that workspace. That's pretty much how it works, and it will keep it up to date for all your users. Now I'm getting the data shapes UI form. I should not have been getting this, but this is Orkestra's magic.
It is magic.
Yeah, you feel much more confident deploying stuff,
Right.
knowing that they will
It's,
have the right settings.
it's going to have its own show on the Las Vegas Strip pretty soon.
Well, it also makes sure that you have the proper version of the package as well, doing it this
Right.
Oh
way.
yeah. Yep.
Look at that, Carl. It's metric.
That's what we
Yes.
like.
So yeah, I'm just going with it, like giving it what it needs. And this one is going to create a couple of detoured apartment layouts for my project. So it turns green, letting me know that everything went smoothly. I have the runtime. I have also a couple of sheets that were created. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
it's not really about the definition, but you see that I mean that this is how the package management part is dealt with in Orkestra.
One less ticket in the ticketing system to fix something because it's downloading the packages automatically.
Yes, it is.
That's such a big one. I feel like a lot
Is
of the
it-
time that's it. That's the reason why something's not working is
Yeah.
the package
Is it-
isn't there.
Is it downloading the package version that it should be, what the Dynamo was created with, or is it downloading the latest version of the package?
No, it's not downloading the latest version, and
Yeah.
I think that's what Carl was pointing out earlier. It
Mhm.
really lets you set the specific version that you're interested in because you don't necessarily want the latest one.
What if a newer version of the package is already installed? Will it uninstall that and then install the correct version so the Dynamo script continues to run?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it will not uninstall it, but it will load that older version, and it will put it in a priority order that's higher. In the package management, you get to set
Great.
which folder is higher.
Cool. On the earlier, you talked about automated backups of Dynamo scripts, and shame on me for not knowing this.
Yeah.
Can that backup be reset?
What do you mean reset? Oh yeah, you mean like.
So what I'm thinking of is, and the use case I'm thinking of is, like Dana sends out a great script to Smith Group, and everybody loves it. And then Jim Bob goes in there. Sorry, Jim Bob, if you're at Smith Group. He goes in there and makes a change, and then it doesn't work anymore. And then he calls Dana and says, hey, this doesn't work anymore. If the automated backup was reset before it was published, Dana could just say, hey, click these three things and it'll go back to the way it was when I published it.
Okay. Well, I am not sure. I mean, I don't think you can rely on that backup capability. I mean, you can't rely on it 100%.
Okay.
The only thing that it will help you with is, say you're working on something and then Revit crashes and you haven't saved anything. You can find your pretty
backups there.
recent
It's not
version
stored in the Dynamo file.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's like a temporary file that stores versions that you were working on recently.
Does your application then, well, when it runs it from the cloud, it's copying it local and then running it? Is that what it's doing?
No, and it's a great question, and thanks for asking it, because well, that's a specificity of the cloud part of Orkestra, and that's what helps you secure your definitions as well. It only streams them. Definitions are JSONs, so it's streaming. It's like running a YouTube
so they
video.
can't. Well, they can't go in there and edit it from the cloud then?
They can't if they have a user access. If they have an administrator access to it,
then they
can open it and modify it and upload it again if they want.
Okay, that's great.
Now, cool. Glad you hear you like it. Now I'm back in my workspace. I mean, online workspace settings, and looking at this definition, I can select it and pull out this little properties panel. So this is where you can store many more information about it, letting your users know more about it and just be better informed and make better informed decisions. So all you get to know here is the hub and workspace, its location on the platform, the version we're at, so we're at version 5 of it, the latest update and who made that last update. That's very important. you can have a couple of keywords, and these are very cool, because they
You can
are
search by
then
keyword.
absolutely, yeah. It
That's
makes the
great.
research more powerful. You can tag stuff.
Yeah.
Now you also get an opportunity to give a description that's a little longer than the name of the definition
Does it
itself.
search the description too?
No, it does not yet, but that's something that we could include, and it was actually thought about for some time.
Oh,
so
I'm
yeah.
not the first one to ask. Darn it.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
That's all right. Gives you something to do.
So yeah, you get this, and these are actually, if you hover over a definition, it will show you that, okay, no, this one was overridden. Okay, yeah, it was overridden because I played it, but if you just hover over a node, it's going to give you that description.
The description, that's great. If it's too long, does it wrap?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
One last thing, and this one is really, really powerful, is it lets you actually associate any type of document directly to your definition.
This is so huge.
Yeah. Yes.
I can't even tell you how many times people are like, well, this is awesome. Like, I love that we have all of these Dynamo scripts available to me, but how do I figure out what they do?
Right.
Or how do I get to the, PDF or whatever that, SharePoint article that, shows me the steps that I need to follow to get this done. And I'm
or
like,
the video.
search Teams, maybe.
Yeah,
that's the answer I have.
Yep. Well, I mean, it works too. It's just like not right inside Revit, right inside, like right in their face, where they get to see it. Here you can, if you right click the definition, enter its information, you can upload any type of documents. So it can be a PDF. I even have some very clever users who have started associating like Revit families that are necessary to the definition to it.
I love that.
Like, just group
I love
together.
The ability to crowdsource it, right? Like giving those users
That's great.
rather than doing a help desk ticket.
It just dawned on me an idea with this, and Dana will like this. Now that we're all remote and doing these Zoom meetings or team meetings or all that, we have the ability to record those.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, hey, I'll show you how this works. We'll go step by step, but I want to record it so that we can put it up on the page so other people can watch the recording and get the same information. And
Absolutely.
then just record it and put it right up there.
That's
and
right.
And then you don't have to write a PDF.
Yep, you don't have to write a PDF, and you don't even have to necessarily like
I think
save
the PDF
that.
Is important.
Yeah.
It's often like the more format, better. Actually, yeah, a written part where you get to describe things in a more technical way is always good. And then a YouTube video or anything, you can actually even add some hyperlink to a YouTube video or a recording of a meeting. And the more you can give the users, the better. So yeah, there's all of that. This is also, by the way, where you can edit the keywords in the description as an administrator, of course. And you also have access to so earlier I said that we were at version 5, so okay, cool. But it's better to get the full history of that file.
Wow. Can you go back and open the version 1?
Yep, yes you can.
Cool.
You can select it and go roll back. So roll back will revert it back to that version and delete everything that was made afterwards. Save as will save it on the side, and then you get to re-upload
it won't roll back and make it version 6?
The save as part?
The save as.
No, if you roll
save
back.
Save as will, but roll back will not.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Rollback will make it version 3 again. And save
this
as
obviously is only administrator level, right?
Absolutely.
Not anybody can go back in there. But it would be nice if all users had the save as functionality. Like I was saying, if they needed to customize it for their project, or they just wanted to tinker around with it and see it, maybe they're trying to learn Dynamo and they want to see how the wires are coming together, I mean, I think that would be
That's
really
a
nice.
great point. That's a great point you're making, and I'll make a good note of that. Because yeah, definitely, you should or at least have an intermediate level that lets users take a look at it, but without the ability to roll back, because that's a little more dangerous. And by the way, since you're mentioning looking at the wires, one thing that Orkestra does automatically for you when you upload stuff to the platform from the View extension inside Dynamo, I'll show you that how it works, but then it gives you access to this. It's
Oh,
automatically
that's nice.
generated.
wire look.
Yeah. And also, it's not always, it was not relevant at all for this definition, but I have another one here where it makes a little more sense. So you get to see the wires and also the 3D preview, and all of that is
Wow,
automatically
that's great.
generated.
Nice.
So you
Excellent.
don't have to open your Dynamo.
No, because who wants to do
But that's
that?
like a pre-run visualization run, so you can't see like the outputs and stuff like that.
No,
for
yeah,
example.
no, it's
Yeah.
just an image,
Image,
like
yeah.
yeah, full
But
disclosure,
if it
it's
were
a
an
PNG.
image with
because-
outputs, right? Sometimes that's the nice thing about looking at the dynamos. You can kind of see what you're getting from the list.
So you mean the outputs of the nodes, like the little toggles?
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it should be possible. I don't see why it wouldn't be possible, but yeah. Because I'm actually, this part here is a in Dynamo you have that little camera icon that you can click to get this is the method I'm using. I'm not sure it takes the preview bubbles.
I don't know either, Carl. Do you know whether it would actually take the preview of the output? When you put, what is it, a magnifying glass or a light bulb or something that you hit to get the preview to stay?
Yeah.
Would that be captured in the image? I think
if you had it pinned so it always stays open, you can hit that little take a picture any point. So you could set it up to do the preview, and then after it's run, take another one. So you have a before and an after picture automatically. Now you would only see what's in those bubbles if you have them pinned. If you don't have them pinned, it's not going to open.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Another 2 cents from Dana, I guess.
Yeah, well, one thing that it's a big topic, because it's something that we're working on, because people have requested it many times, is so far Orkestra, the player part of Orkestra, relies 100% on the data shapes package for input. It's not going to automatically generate input forms like the Dynamo player does from some specific Dynamo nodes, like the selection or category list nodes. So we're working on automating that part, and that has led us to use the built-in, is input and is output features or attributes of the nodes in Dynamo. And from what I'm hearing here, I guess we could automate the the rollout of the preview bubble for the output nodes. So every node that has been set as output will have those automatically pinned. Have their preview pinned for these screenshots, so you don't have the bubbles everywhere.
Cool.
That could be a way to deal with it.
Could be.
Yeah, to be followed. That's interesting. Right. So now I think, this is pretty much it in terms of deployment. So if you want to deploy something in Orkestra, all you have to do is create a workspace, create a folder, add your definitions to that folder, sorry, and then enter the workspace, the settings of that folder, and start granting people access and set up the packages. And then that's it. So all they have to do is log into Orkestra, and they will get all of that. It will be made available to you. Now,
you could, for example, have like a project-specific workspace that you grant people access to. So you have a handful of scripts that your client's requiring you do for OmniClass or whatever it might be, right? Some cool automation tool to help you with that. And so you save it specifically to their project workspace, and you give that team access to that workspace.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely a use case.
And then also, once again, it creates kind of a more dynamic layering ability within almost this, Orkestra atmosphere, whereas you do not have that in Dynamo Player. You can't even create subfolders in Dynamo Player, right? You're just like looking at 75 or however many scripts you have in that list. So yes, absolutely. And then so if you do have something outside of the typical Dynamo player location, you got to navigate to the folder and have it saved in your. This is definitely revolutionary. So for those of us who are used to working with and deploying Dynamo player packages and scripts, this is.
Wow.
This is these names, huh?
Thank you.
What would be really, really awesome is, yeah, if you're interested, I'd like to set up an account for you, and like you can play with it, and I'd be very happy to hear your thoughts once you've gotten to experiment with it. That'd be really cool.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think I've pretty much said everything that was to say about this part.
Okay.
Now,
what's the cost?
Oh, the cost is well, for now, so there's an early adopter cost, and you know the starting figure is I'm going to yeah, in US dollars it's a little different than euros, but it's basically around $7 US per user per month.
Okay.
But that's the starting point, because obviously it makes much more sense to get packs of licenses, because this is a deployment tool, and the larger the pack and the longer the time period, the smaller the price per user. So
Sure.
it really decreases from there.
Okay, and that's for if you want to use the cloud portion.
Absolutely, yeah, because
if you want to just use the computer portion,
that's free.
Your local portion, that's free.
Yep.
Cool.
That's right.
Very cool.
Are those floating licenses?
Yes, they are. So you can, awesome. Yeah, you can actually have generic user accounts and associate, I don't know, like 20 floating licenses to it, and then it's just like it's just a matter of having not more than 20 people trying to log into it at the same time.
Like but then you'd have to have 20 different emails, and then people would have to pick those, or
email.
Yeah, you can associate more activations to an email address. Let me show you how it looks like if you're interested. So, there's a desktop app also of Orkestra that lets you perform all the management tasks without having to open Revit or Dynamo or anything. You just like have access to the platform. You can upload stuff, sync packages, etc. So this is what I'm looking at right now. This is the desktop app of Orkestra. I'm going to connect with a different account. That is a license pack manager account. Oh, I hope I got the password right.
Looks good to me.
No, it does not.
Looks the same as mine. All done.
Oh my. Okay.
Oh no. It's a demo.
I need to reset it. Well, it's really no. Oh my God, really?
How about capital P,
no.
password 1?
It was actually the email that was wrong.
How
about that?
You spell your own name incorrectly.
Yes, I did.
Like it.
And I did it again. Okay, yeah, here we are. So since this is a license pack management account, I have this specific setting here that is the management console. And this is where you get to manage your license pack. So for example, here, this was a 30 license pack. And I have these 2 licenses here. So for example, user@mycompany.com, this is a generic account. I can attribute 10 activations to it. That means that 10 people can log into it at the same time.
Okay.
You can have user-based accesses, and usually what I've seen people who have purchased license packs do is they have name-based accounts for their content creators, and then they have generic accounts per team or per level of user.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And again, this is not really something, I mean, it was more community driven and user driven than, we tried to hear from them, like the way they felt like it would be right to use it. And we tried to make it as easy as possible.
Any way to grab the username from Revit, to use that as the login instead of having them log in?
I've had that asked a lot, some form of a single sign-on mechanism.
Because you really don't need.
Yep. No, you
don't
are
need
correct.
a password for this.
that's something we're looking at.
Okay.
We still have not figured the exact, the perfect way to do it, but there's definitely something coming
Because
that
you
way.
could do it by wildcard of domain name for licenses for your roaming users or however many. And then you could assign name users by the email address or the Revit user, and then they would be the admins. Just throwing that out there.
Super IT geeky, Bill.
That's what I love about Bill.
Yeah.
But
very
it's the simplest routine.
We definitely, I know we're gearing up here onto 2 Aubins, but
oh my goodness, already?
We absolutely have to talk about playlists, because it was a work in progress the last time we looked at this, and now I know that it's working. We absolutely have to talk about playlists.
Is that the Windows Media Player thing?
Yeah, it's this guy here. It looks like Media Player. Well, what this part does is it lets you pretty much set up a sequence of definitions, and the way you get to do that is very, I feel, user-friendly.
Maybe.
What is okay?
It's mad because you changed your account, probably.
Excellent. No, I know what happened. I'm very sorry about this.
Oh, you killed Revit.
This is a crash.
Revit
okay.
But
what
in theory,
here,
you could set up like 5 scripts to run. Like, I need to print, so let me fix my graphic scales. Let me fix my title blocks. Let me make sure that all my sheet names are in uppercase or whatever it is, and you can run all 5, and then print your print set, and all those good things. And
can you save like options there when it asks for parameters?
Yeah, definitely. If there's a UI for the definition, it will pop up every time.
It'll fill that in.
Yep.
So in sequence, those pop-ups would kind of relay themselves.
Yeah, it's really going to play every definition, like wait for a definition to end before it starts the next one. And then if there's a sequence of pop-ups inside the definition, well, those will be, that order will be respected.
Cool.
Very sorry about this crash. I'm constantly working on Orkestra, and I'm not on the latest stable build. This has happened to me already. I should have learned not to do this anymore.
Crash is the funnest when you're giving a live demo.
Right?
Can I call those media player scripts from Dynamo?
From Dynamo, what you mean inside?
Because
Dynamo?
we have Clarity. You know what Clarity is? It's an automated tool that we have it run every night on a lot of models to do things. And Clarity allows us to run a Dynamo script.
Yep.
And it would be really cool if we could get.
Do you utilize that?
Oh yeah.
Do you run
we utilize that now to do our model matrix.
Model checking.
Yeah, because Clarity does that model checking for us and gives us a number associated with each of the parameters. I don't remember how many there are, but there's a wheelbarrow full of them,
if you will.
Yes, and so Alexis, you know Alexis?
I do.
Oh, Amazon.
Very awesome guy.
Very awesome guy. He created a dashboard that looks like a car dashboard, but not like a car dashboard. It has gauges and things. That's your default view inside of Revit. So when you open your model, it tells you red light, green light, red light, how your model's doing, and what is causing the slowness of your model. So it'll come up and say, hey, you've got a lot of errors. You should fix those.
You have 250 in-place families.
Yeah, you have 250 in-place families. You exploded a bunch of AutoCAD files. What'd you do that for? That's why your model's slow. Yeah. So it's really cool.
What you're asking, Bill, is rather than setting up a routine to have Clarity run Dynamo script 1 and then half an hour later run Clarity, run Dynamo script 2, that if you could just have Clarity kick off the playlist from Orkestra,
yep,
it's just
then it would fill
one
in
task.
the parameters.
Correct.
Well, it will not it will not be accessible through Clarity, but those things are definitely on the roadmap of the playlist feature. So far, it lets you play them, from Revit. You double click the playlist, it's going to run the sequence. but we're building a scheduling feature that lets you decide when the playlist gets played. So, everything that you're describing right now could be done through Orkestra directly. You would say, I
Yeah,
want
but
this
see, I don't
playlist to
know
be.
when I won't know when the model gets opened by Clarity, because
Okay,
Clarity
yeah.
runs 24/7 because we have so many projects that are being.
All right. Oh,
Yeah, we have 8 task servers and they're running all the time.
Okay.
Or could it run it outside of your Revit model? Might be a better question, right? Like, could we open up the Orkestra playlist and run
Yeah.
it out? Could we point to a model that's not open and still run it?
So yeah, that part will be made possible, yeah, with the scheduling part. So you'll be able to target a set of Revit files that are not open, and then select a playlist and say, I want this playlist to be run on these files at midnight every week or something like that.
Cool.
There you go.
Another feature that's on its way is event listeners. So, like every time someone synchronizes to the central file, this playlist gets played. Or every time someone loads a new family, this playlist gets played, or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because then you could have something that is telling everybody when someone else is saving or syncing to central.
Yeah, that would work. So yeah, and this is what it looks like. So I've opened, yeah, the part that was messing things up is this button here. I know why it's doing it, but if I open it from here, it's all good. Yeah, it crashes your Revit so nicely. It's beautiful.
So if you need Revit to crash, go to the player and then hit that.
And
then
need
to write a documentation for that.
Hit the equalizer button.
So yeah, and these are the playlists, and when you select one of them, you get to see their content, you get to reorganize it. You can actually mix up, cloud stuff and local stuff in the same playlist. And if you want to create a playlist, just as easy as like a new sequence. Okay, here it is. You get to browse your both your cloud and local definitions. Okay,
just add them in.
Yeah, you add them in, you reorganize them, and when you get to this part and refresh, you will see it appear, and here it is.
That's
and all
great.
you need to do is
that's slick.
That's so nice.
You can just like click this guy, and it will play the sequence.
That's great. So now, Dana, you can actually separate your Dynamo graphs into multiple for easy editing on your part, but it looks like one for the end users.
Without like 900 end transactions
right
in script,
absolutely
in the script, or 10,000 wires that you don't know what the heck is going on now,
or pass throughs or what.
All that stuff. Right,
absolutely. This is
well, and also there's certain workflows that might require 3 or 4
steps,
scripts,
right?
Just because of, if nothing else, you want them to kind of understand, like, okay, that process is done. Right. We've created the elements. Now we're going to create schedules to look at the elements.
Sure.
Right. It's almost like you want them to be in 2 different processes. But this,
well, it's easier to bug fix and update on your end.
Well, and from their end, right? When they run that script, they know, okay, now I need to go check the elements and make sure that they're there.
Right.
And then when I run this next script, I check the schedules and make sure they're. It's an incremental way of my user also being able to interface.
Right. And on the first time they run it, they can run it step by step, and then the subsequent times they know it works, they can just run it from the media player.
Exactly.
That's what we should have called it.
Orkestra media player. You got to go with the music stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We thought playlist was enough. Yeah, media player is great. That sounds like something John Pearson would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Clippy. Like,
yeah, Clippy. Yeah.
Bring Clippy back.
We need. Bring Clippy back. Hashtag more Clippy.
So that was for the playlists. I don't know that we are maybe running a little over time, and maybe it's going to be a lot of editing work to do for you, Carl. I don't know if.
No, we're not going to edit this at all.
This is all gold.
That's going to show the blow up and everything.
Okay. All right. Well, if
real life, I like to show it as it is.
Real life, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how it needs to be.
That's how we need to be. But they'll know you fixed it.
So yeah, I'm looking at the next part here, and that's probably the last big thing to look at in the Revit environment. And then if we still have like 5-10 minutes.
Oh, the analytics.
The analytics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to filter them down because there's a lot going on here. So I'm filtering it down to my hub.
Okay.
And there's what you get. So these, these information. Yeah, no, you cannot. There's no plural information. So this information comes from the runs that people perform through the cloud part of Orkestra. Whenever someone plays a definition through the cloud part of Orkestra or through a cloud quick access, which I didn't show yet, I'm just realizing. Basically, you can create the quick accesses and deploy them online. So the buttons here, you can create them through the online part and have everyone get them pop on their ribbon, all the users that you are targeting. So someone plays a definition through this or through that, it gets recorded on the database, and that database is then accessible through a couple of pre-built graphs. And for example, here, again, filtering it to one that has more activity. The first graph is a usage per user graph that you can group by definition. So for every definition, there's a color per user, and then you get to see who is using that definition the most. Or you can switch it around and group it by user. And then you'll have one color per definition. Whoa. This will readjust.
Circle line.
Okay, and then you get to see for each user, what their activity is and what they're using. So that's a quick insight on how things are going. Then you have this very general pie chart. It's general usage. So all the definitions and how many times each one has been run. But this can be switched to a bar chart. You get to know, for example, which definition is not being used at all, and maybe you need to communicate more about it, things like that. Then there's the usage over time thing that lets you know how the usage is evolving over time, by days, weeks, months, etc. This can help you make a business case for your company. There's the success rate. This one I like a lot. This one, whenever you run a definition, it's either going to run successfully or run with errors. Now, when that happens, you get a little visual feedback. It's the node on the player is going to turn green or orange, but it doesn't stop there. It also pushes that information to the platform, and it's then it's made available to you through this graph. Now you can filter this down to like specific workspaces and get to know how the content of each workspace is performing.
Sometimes though, you can't get a script to not run without a warning.
Yes, and yeah, you are absolutely correct. And so far, the Orkestra is failing at having that how can I say, finesse in terms of interpreting.
Can you actually maybe
select
a node and say, if this populates a warning, then tell me?
Yes.
Or ignore these.
This is something we're working on. Yeah. It's like right clicking the node and telling it we're not interested in these warnings, and then it will not show here.
I guess the way that I would like to see it would be ignore by graph by Dynamo script. Instead of ignore this node, it's ignore this node in this
for example,
script,
sometimes
because I may not want to ignore that node in another script.
Yeah, it will be.
For example, script by script case, absolutely. But for example, sometimes when you call, all the times when you call views, you're also getting view templates, and a lot of the time when you're pushing those through to the end of your script, you're going to get warnings because view templates don't have the same properties as views. Or you can't set the same properties to view templates as views. So that's just an anticipated error that you almost have to clean up. You have to anticipate that, so you clean it up before you ever get it.
Yeah, that's a
benign error.
Yeah. It's like that. You can set something as input or set it as output. I'm thinking of something similar where you could set a node in a definition. Of course, it will be definition based. It will not be just ignore that node in general, but just tell that node in that definition that it's not to be taken into account in terms of warnings.
Fantastic.
And yeah, so
That's really
then you get
nice.
this graph. This graph will make even more sense
I
when
hate
that
those
is
people who
implemented.
like suffer in silence, right? You're like, is
Yeah.
my script even working? I don't know. I know that they ran it.
Yeah, especially if it's through some player, then you don't even know like anything. So yeah,
Right.
no, that's a very important point you're making.
Right. So I think we're seeing the final thing here, which is also very cool, seeing the Dynamo versions versus the Revit versions. But we're slowly creeping up to 3 ovens. So that's like we turn into a pumpkin time. So we're gonna need to start to wrap it up here with. Was there anything sort of as final thoughts you want to talk about that's coming up? You know, that last thing to keep people waiting for what's next.
Okay, so yeah, what's next is a whole bunch of productivity tools inside the Dynamo environment. Maybe I'll get to show that some other time. But yeah, there's already some stuff.
Right.
I'll be very happy. And there's more stuff coming, and we're also working on integrating Orkestra in other softwares. So Civil 3D is on its way and should be here within a couple of months. Grasshopper also has been included in our plans, and we have an up and running Rhino plugin that lets you play, manage, deploy, and document and play your Grasshopper definitions as well. But that part is still lagging a little bit behind the Dynamo part, because that's what we started with. But we're looking into bringing that up to the same level. So the Grasshopper part is getting some love in the next couple of months.
Super.
And
thank you so much, Mostafa.
Thank you very much for like this little overtime also.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for
great
being
talking to
on. Make sure you look us all up on the Twitters and the YouTubes and all the other things.
And look down in the comments for all of the wonderful websites related to Mostafa's work.
Right.
Thanks. And yeah, maybe one last thing is, if someone is interested in getting the trials for the full experience, like the online part, they only have to reach out through the website. So that's Orkestra with a K.online.
Great. Super duper. Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners and watchers, for being with us as well.